Hi guys, it's Debbie, and today I would like to speak about the Choose Life monologue which opened and closed the 1996 film Trainspotting, and which then was quoted in a different way in its sequel T2 Trainspotting, which has just recently been released. It is considered one of the most famous monologues in movie history. This video will contain spoilers about both movies, the 1996 film and the 2017 movie, so I'd highly recommend watching them before you continue watching this video. Also, if you would prefer a complete review of T2 Trainspotting, check out the description box below. So the 1996 film Trainspotting opened with Mark Renton and some of his friends running through the streets of Edinburgh after shoplifting in order to afford their habit, their drug addiction. We hear Lust for Life by Iggy Pop playing in the background and Mark's voiceover, which starts to speak about choosing life. Mark ironically suggests that we should choose life, a family, friends, good health, and all a series of commodities such as washing machines, TVs, electrical tin openers. Then he starts to move on to a series of time-consuming activities such as DIY, watching game shows, eating junk food. And he describes these activities as mind-numbing and spirit-crushing, and says that choosing this lifestyle would then lead to a miserable death, as an embarrassment to your own children, which he describes as selfish brats. Obviously all of this with a lot more swearing. Mark Renton carries out this monologue because he has been consuming heavy drugs for a very long time, especially heroin. His life has no meaning, he has no career planned out, no goals in his life. He isn't a reliable friend, as just a bunch of pounds convince him to give his clean friend Tommy his first hit, which in the future will lead him to his death. Even those which he calls friends at first in reality are just junkie buddies. The friends seem to hang out only to get high or get drunk. Even best friends Simon and Mark seem to be in an eternal competition for success. It will take them 20 years to realise the importance of their friendship. Renton, Sick Boy and Spud are like zombies, walking around in a world they barely seem to acknowledge. Their real world, their real life is in heroin, and they only open their eyes and return to planet Earth when they need the next hit. So all of this combined obviously makes Mark very frustrated, and he doesn't seem to understand the bourgeois life made of choices, boring choices, such as dental insurance, mortgage repayments, relaxing on a Sunday morning. He actually reaches the point of describing his parents as drug addicts, his mother taking pills and both of them numbly watching game shows. So he says that instead of choosing life, we should just not choose anything. Who needs reasons when you've got heroin, he says, collapsing on the floor. Mark's solution is just blacking out, taking so many drugs he can't even tell how many days have been passing. In the end, it's a destructive non-choice, just avoiding this limited world. In the first part of the film, he knows he would enjoy a life like his parents' life or Diane's, but he just won't admit it. Instead, in the second part of the film, he realises that a drug addiction is like a black hole that will drag him and everything around him down to a terrible life. He understands drugs are not only destructive for himself, but also for who surrounds him. So he understands that in order to escape, he has to end his relationships, end his friendships, and physically move away. So he moves to London. But as soon as he meets his old friends, he falls back into his old habits. And this is also shown in T2 Trainspotting, when just speaking about heroin makes Mark and Sick Boy want to use it. Mark's only desperate solution to this life-threatening suffering is running away with a huge amount of cash. The way by which he achieved this goal is obviously debatable, as he fooled his friends, but still knowing that every single one of them would have made the same choice if they had had the chance. The only positive note we have at the end of the 1996 film is that in the end he decides to choose that boring life that he'd always despised. So he plans out a life in which he will choose everything he used to criticise, along with some other features, for example a 9-to-5 job, spending Christmas with his family. And an interesting fact is that he also quotes the concept of dying. And I say this is interesting because throughout all the film, death is something that's always surrounding the characters. It's always present. They have a death sentence upon their heads, but the characters never seem to be fully aware of it. Tommy's death is tragic, so is Dawn's. The characters take HIV tests, they cry, they are sad, but death doesn't appear as as a problem, as a real threat. It's just something out there that could happen. They come back from Tommy's funeral, and in a matter of hours they're already planning a dangerous criminal activity. So the fact that Mark is now quoting death is interesting and important, because it means he finally understood he has only one life to live. Also, he understands that the reality that he always used to criticize is the reality that in the end helped him and actually helped him to survive. So family, public health care, and so on. 20 years later in T2, we meet a much more mature Mark after decades of choosing life in Amsterdam. And death has caught up with him because his mother, which was a silent angel by his side, passed away. Some of his friends from his younger years have died, and also he has risked death with a cardiac problem. He is a 40-plus-year-old man. Some of his friends still take drugs, but in a lighter form, or trying to quit, for example Spud. But although they have a stable life, slightly more secure finances, they've had love stories, they are still deeply struggling. They don't totally have the grip on reality. Sick Boy is a depressed barman in a dilapidated neighborhood. He has lost all of his charm. He can hardly keep one partner. Spud is trying to quit drugs, but decades of using heroin have completely ruined his life. And Mark admits he doesn't have a clue where his life is going to, and explains that the old Choose Life monologue can still be used in 2017, because even ruling out the drugs, they are still addicted to reality TVs, social media, hoping that someone somewhere will care. So he admits that in the end it's just choosing to watch history repeat itself. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to subscribe for many more movie related videos, and I'll see you soon. Bye!